myths about selling copyrighted items on Etsy. The subject of copyrighted things comes up so often, copyright or IP or whatever, whatever it is. Now, before we start, I'm obviously not a legal expert, so always get proper advice if you're thinking of doing this. But I've seen lots and lots of myths about selling copyright, and I just wanted to cover them today. First myth is Etsy secretly allows it because it makes them money. I get why people think this, but the thing is, with Etsy, the way the laws are just now and what the type of platform Etsy is, what is actually happening here is Etsy isn't expected to police everything that's on its platform. It is supposed to police the things that are against its rules, but it isn't supposed to police copyright and trademark infringing things, mainly because copyright and trademark it's a legal thing. Etsy can't decide if something is infringing on someone else's IP. That has to be decided in a court of law. So Etsy just has to allow people to put these things up. And then if the copyright or trademark holder contacts Etsy through the correct methods and Etsy tries to make it easy for them to do that, if the IP holder contacts Etsy and says, "This is mine," that person can't sell it, Etsy takes it down. And this is another thing. Etsy can't arbitrate on this or anything. People say it's not fair. Etsy took it down and it's not right. Etsy, again, can't arbitrate on it. If someone comes to them and says, "That's mine," get that listing down, Etsy has to take that listing down. When it's taken down, you'll see the steps you can get. You can contact the person who put in the complaint and get them to rescind it. You can disagree with it. What can happen, I believe, after a certain number of days, you can relist the item. And if you do that, you're kind of saying to the person, "No, I think it's okay for me to sell this." And the next step in the progression of that is that person can take you to court. So that this is where things are a bit dodgy because people feel they get away with it because they weren't taken to court. But so, don't mess with people. You don't know who's having a bad day. And things like Disney, yeah, they're going to take you to court if they feel you're messing with them. So if an item's taken down and you didn't design it or create it, if it's somebody else's idea and they tell you to take it down, don't try putting it up again. You were actually lucky to get away with just that. Now, one I've been hearing a lot lately, and it was one that I heard when I started on Etsy in 2008. So, yeah, I'm sad that it's still going about. It's okay if you drew the thing yourself. So, if you decide you want to make a Mickey Mouse character, you want to make a t-shirt with Mickey Mouse on it, they're saying if you took an image from Disney and put it on a t-shirt, then that's bad. But if you drew it yourself, or Mickey's in a slightly different pose or something, or you sculpted it yourself, it's okay. It's not. Now, I heard this advice and I thought it was correct advice back in the day. And one of my first items I made and sold, there's a plane going on overhead if you can hear it. One of my first items was a Jack Skellington sculpture. I was so proud. I thought he was so adorable. I was really proud and I worked super. That took many hours, so I thought it was okay to sell. Yeah, it wasn't. I sold one, I got away with it. I didn't know any better. And then I made another one, listed it, and yes, that was taken down and I got the little slap on the wrist. But Etsy isn't the reason my shop isn't closed. That was the only thing I had. I didn't have a shop full of infringing things. Etsy's okay to say, "All right, you didn't know, you took it down. Okay." The other thing is, other things are people say is fan art is okay. Now, it's generally a kind of grey area that you can get away with, that it's okay for you to do fan art. I can create things. And generally that's okay. You can practice drawing by drawing Mickey Mouse, but you can't sell it. This is the grey line. yes, you might see hundreds of conventions and places selling absolute tons of fan art, but if the copyright holder decided to go to that convention, yeah, it's not okay. Now, there is an extra thing. Some people will say, well, it is okay because this certain creator allows it. And there are some creators absolutely love fan art and are absolutely fine with it. They say, yes, use my universe. Just credit me, but it's absolutely fine. Others tolerate it because it's not worth their time chasing people down. And there's also a kind of what it does to your brand to chase people down. Years back, Disney actually went after a children's nursery that had put up Disney characters and things, and they were completely within their rights to chase down that company and say, you can't have that thing. But it hurt the public's perception of Disney, so it kind of wasn't worth Disney's time to have done that. So you will see some things kind of slip through the net and they're left alone. If it's that kind of grey area that people are gonna get mad. Now, people are not gonna get mad if you're ripping off somebody else's work to make money off of it. That's completely different. But yeah, if a certain creator has has it all over their website, everywhere, it says you can make fan art and you can sell it, then that one creator has the right to say that. But it doesn't mean that everybody else is doing it. Brands are just greedy. It's not fair. Mickey Mouse should be free for everybody to create things. Disney is just being greedy and they've got far too much money already. Well, yes and no. The problem is people are idiots. You can hurt the brand. The famous, most recent one is the Nike Satan shoes. An artist did what everyone at the time believed was completely legal, in that you buy the Nikes, you decorate them, and then you sell them on, and that's fine. He bought them, they belong to him, he's allowed to do that. But the problem happened here because he made the Satan shoes, which he'd made angel ones and then he made devil ones. So basically, some very religious people were offended by this. And because it was Nikes, they were shouting out, Nikes, Nikes. They were shouting out and they're saying, we're not touching Nike again. We're never buying from Nike again. And so what this person had done was hurting the brand of Nike, even though they had nothing to do with it. And it's the same if you buy a Mickey Mouse clock or something and it's faulty or it's a bit shoddy or it hurts someone because it was made badly. Disney their brand could be hurt in that people could look at that and think, oh, Disney's trash quality. So this is why brands, they're just protecting the quality of their item. So yeah, are they being greedy as well? Possibly, but at the same time, they made the thing. They put all the work into it. There's another thing I just read about last night, actually, where an artist was stealing frames from comic books, and apparently the comic artists were getting next to no money for the work they were doing. They were, some of these people have died in poverty, and this artist was making ridiculous amounts of money, and not that some of the original artists didn't even know until recently, till the case came out against him. So yeah, it's also not fair. It's hurting the people. Why should someone who's copied someone else's idea be making millions when the person who had the original idea isn't doing so good? Which is quite a tangent because Disney is doing so good. You get what I mean. Another thing is another myth. It's okay if someone commissions you. No. Okay, you're unlikely to get caught, but it's still illegal. You're still profiting off the other person's brand. So yeah, still not okay. It's okay because other people do it. as my mum says, if someone else jumped off a cliff, would you do it? If someone else, people murder, people assault people, people rob. Is it okay to do these things because other people do it? So just because you look on Etsy and you see tons of these things doesn't mean it's legal, as we spoke about at the top. Etsy doesn't isn't supposed to police it, but all the stuff you see on there when the copyright holder comes in, they can all get taken down. And not only can they all get taken down, you see these big shops that sell a whole lot, and you're saying, why hasn't Disney got them? Occasionally, Disney sits back and watches their sales, lets them get enough rope to hang themselves, and then say, okay, you're not just a little person that we can give a slap on the wrist. We are using you as an example. So, yeah, the fact that stuff hasn't been taken down, the fact there's people up there, does not mean it's okay to do it. And following on from that kind of silly myth, it's okay because I didn't know I was breaking the law. Well, first of all, for the person that actually said that, right? If you say on the internet, I can do this thing because I don't know it's against the law, you've already admitted that you know it's against the law, basically. But ignorance of the law is not a defense. It doesn't matter if you don't know it. Especially if you're making money off this thing, I'm afraid we all have to learn the laws in the businesses that we're in. Um, it, how law works isn't you can do everything you want till you get caught and told it's bad. Like we're grown-ups, we're not toddlers now. So I'm afraid we have to learn the laws. And this is, if you're not sure if it's okay to sell, get in there and actually ask. Ask a legal person, find out properly. Don't ask strangers on the internet. Don't ask me. The only people that know are actually legal experts. Yeah, and the final myth is that Etsy have to give you warnings. They have to give you 3 strikes. So it's not fair. We hear in the forums all the time. I just opened my shop and Etsy has totally shut it, but I've never been told off before. Yeah, Etsy doesn't have to. The thing is, it is in its rules that you have to sell stuff that you're allowed to sell. So if you've made a mistake like I did, it was a genuine mistake, it was a stupid mistake, I should have known better, I didn't. I took the advice of people that said it's okay if you make it yourself. So I made a mistake, and Etsy looked and said, Pam's just made the one mistake. The rest of her shop's stuff that she's entitled to sell, oh, slap on the wrist, off she goes. If they'd looked in my shop and the entirety of my shop was problematic, they're not going to give me 3 strikes. They're just going to say, I don't want that person selling on our platform. So they have the right, when you signed up for Etsy, it says they have the right to shut you down whenever they want. They don't have to give you warnings. If you look way more problematic than they think they want to deal with, then they're just going to get rid of you. Anyway, so if you've got to this point, you must have a little interest in this whole thing. So my friend Starla made a video about some of the Disney suing people stuff quite recently. You might want to check that out. And I also have a video going more in depth into copyright and IP law, not being a lawyer, but hopefully that will help. And while you're over at my friend Starla's, shh, don't tell her this, but she's doing really well getting subscribers on YouTube. And I think this is the year we should get her to 100,000 subscribers. So go over there and hit the subscribe. Anyway, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.